Okay, we're live.
Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order. We respectfully acknowledge that the County of Haliburton is located on Treaty 20 Mishi-Saugig territory and in the traditional territory of the Mishi-Saugig and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. We acknowledge a shared presence of Indigenous nations throughout the area and recognize its original inhabitants as the stewards of its lands and waters since time immemorial. Good evening and welcome to the County of Haliburton's Land Division Committee. My name is Liz Danielson and I'll be your chairperson for tonight's hearing. I'd like to introduce you to the other members of the committee. Tammy McKelvey, Councillor at Large for Minden Hills. Pat Kennedy, Public Member for Dysart et al. Bill Donald, Public Member for Algonquin Highlands. And this evening, Bob Snyder, Public Member representing Highlands East is away. We're also joined by our Director of Planning, Steve Stone, our planner, Adam Kozlowski, and our official Land Division Secretary, Alana Lacey. This meeting is held through remote electronic participation in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The purpose of the hearing is to give each applicant or their authorized agent the opportunity to discuss their application with the committee and to respond to written submissions which may have been received. It's also an opportunity for committee members to broaden their understanding of each application by asking questions. Members of the public who are participating virtually today may also make oral submissions to the committee, whether in support or opposition of an application. Our Secretary Treasurer will introduce each application and our planners will provide planning briefs. Then participants who have registered to address the committee will be admitted virtually to speak to the committee. And each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak to the committee. With that, we'll now proceed with the agenda for this evening. Could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Members McKelvey and Kennedy.
Be it resolved that the November 13th, 2023 Land Division Committee agenda be hereby approved.
All in favor? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof this evening? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes of October the 23rd? Member Donald, seconded by Member McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the Land Division Committee meeting held October 23rd, 2023 be approved and printed and circulated.
All in favor? That's carried. We'll now move into our applications for consent. The first file being Moore, who's requesting a new rural residential lot.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to share screen and walk committee briefly through the application. Okay, and I trust everybody can see the sketch. Okay. Application H04023 is for a severance of a new rural residential lot. Subject lands are at 5464 County Road 121, southeast corner of County Road 121 and County Road 1. As you can see on the screen, the property, it's a large rural lot, and it does have a building cluster here on County Road 121. There's a house and a barn and a drive shed and garage and various other smaller accessory buildings. And the applicant would like to sever a new lot up in the northeast corner of the property. So this lot would have 2.2 hectares or 5.5 acres of area with 158 meters of frontage, which is 520 feet. The retained lot, which contains the existing buildings, that property would have 92.25 acres of land area. The frontage on Gellert Road would remain at, or it would be reduced to 2,630 feet, and then the frontage on County Road 121 would remain unchanged at 1,060 feet of broken frontage. Riverstone Environmental submitted a scoped EIS for this property as there are wetland features on it. None of the wetland features or other sensitive features on the property will be located on the severed lot. Township of Minden Hills has recommended approval of the application. Township staff have also reviewed the EIS and concur with the recommendations, as do county staff. No correspondence was received, and county staff recommend approval, subject to the conditions that are outlined in the staff report. The only exception is for condition 3. The municipality had asked for an entrance permit to be obtained, and we did receive Public Works comments from the county that said there's adequate sight lines, so we don't need to have a permit for entrance installed at this time. There is sufficient sight lines there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? I understand that the applicant, Maureen Moore, is here or wish to speak to the application. Is she present?
She's being moved forward.
Hello, Maureen. You've heard the report from the planner. Do you have any comments or things that you would like to add?
Not really. I just wanted to attend this evening to make sure, you folks didn't have any questions that perhaps I could answer. But no, I don't have any questions myself. The county staff has been really, really helpful and supportive in helping me to apply for this. And thank you very much. And that's all I have to say.
Do any members of the committee have questions for Ms. Moore?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report and grant provisional approval for the application? Moved by member Kennedy, seconded by member Donald.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-04023 Moore, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-04023 Moore, subject to the modified conditions outlined in the staff report.
Thank you.
Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Snyder? Oh, sorry, absent. Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
And Chair Danielson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Moore. Okay, the next application is for a new rural residential lot by Kellett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So application H41-23 Kellett is for a new rural residential lot with shoreline frontage on a water body. This property is at 1281 Denna Lake Road in the township of Minden Hills. And I will share a screen and walk committee through the application. And I trust everyone can see the sketch.
Yep.
So the application tonight would see a severance of this property right here. Property has 5.5 hectares of land area with just under 150 meters of frontage on Denna Lake Road. And this severed lot would contain the existing dwelling and garage. The retained lot is it's a large lot here. It's got 26.4 hectares. It contains several thousand feet of shoreline frontage on this pond, which is connected to Plumen Lake, which is a little bit further south. And I discussed it a little bit in the staff report. I just wanted to point out to committee that there's a separate application here where the township has accepted or is in the almost finished accepting conveyance of 66 feet of road allowance, so that Denna Lake Road is on municipal land. Right now it's considered a forced road. And this land conveyance will basically create what we call a natural severance of this top corner of the property. But just for committee's information, this parcel is not part of the application we're hearing tonight. This doesn't require a consent stamp from the committee, but just for general knowledge. And I believe in talking to Minden Hills staff, this natural severance is imminent if it hasn't already occurred. The Township of Minden Hills has endorsed the application. It was subject to a scope EIS study, which identified a fairly large building envelope, over 20 acres over here. There are some natural features on the site, but there's ample space on the retained lot for construction of a future dwelling without having any impact on any natural features. I believe Sue Harrison is also here to speak to it. I'm just going to wrap up. So staff have no objection to the application, subject to the conditions from the municipality and the county that are in the staff report. And I would be happy to answer any questions committee may have. Thank you.
Do any members of the committee have questions for Adam on his report?
Adam, Bill Donald here. The piece that's being severed because of the acquisition of a permanent road allowance, was that all part of the proposal with the severed land and the retained lands? And so in effect, 2 lots are being created?
Through you, Madam Chair, the process to do the road conveyance and the natural severance was before my time. I don't know all of the background behind it, but Sue Harrison is online, and perhaps Sue can enlighten us because she was involved right from the beginning. I just want to note as well that while that naturally severed lot doesn't require a consent stamp, Riverstone did assess it to make sure that there's a building envelope on it, which there is.
Okay.
Good evening, Sue. Is there anything that you would like to add to the report that we've heard?
I think Adam did a great job giving an overview. Just in terms of the history, we started this process in December of 21. We submitted the request for Minden Hills to assume the road, and we also submitted the severance, and the planning consultants in Minden Hills wanted the road assumption decision made and approved prior to processing the severance. So Adam is correct. The assumption of the road has gone through. The natural severance has been created. I don't know if the legal ease of it is all in place, but the decisions have all been made, and that's all taken care of. So this is just the subsequent application, but there was a comprehensive look at the whole picture.
Any questions for Ms. Harrison? Hearing none, could I then have a mover and a seconder to receive the report and to grant provisional approval for the application? Councillors, or Member McKelvey and Member Donald.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-04123 Kellett, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-04123 Kellett, subject to conditions outlined in the staff report. Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Chair Danielson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
The next application are for new bell easements on Nelson's property. Nelson and Patton, sorry.
Through you, Madam Chair. So we have 2 applications here for bell easements on 2 properties that are adjacent to each other on Hawkins Trail in the township of Minden Hills. So 4223 is for 1112 Hawkins Trail, and 4323 is for 1114 Hawkins Trail. And I'll share screen and walk committee briefly through. Okay, so here are the two properties where the easements will be imposed. Right now, there are hydro and there are hydro lines that run across this lot, both lots, sorry. And the reason for this kind of unusual shaped easement here is there is a new cottage being constructed, and the existing service lines go over top of that cottage, but obviously with the foundation and the bell line had to be buried and it had to be jogged around the outside of the foundation wall. So that bell line has actually been installed. It was installed earlier this year. And now this bell easement will just ensure that the utility company can access it if they have to do maintenance. So these two easements on these two properties will basically, connect the chain, so to speak, so that Bell has uninterrupted access to get to the lines if they do need maintenance. Didn't receive any comments from the neighbors to the east. The one neighbor to the west did express concerns over the what were believed to be drainage easements on the east and west side of this property here at 1112. And that correspondence was forwarded to the agent for the applicant, who I believe is on the line today and can provide additional comments. The commentary was forwarded to the Land Division Committee, and staff went out today and visited the site. And it's based on the site inspection, it was determined that if there's any grading or drainage issues associated with the cottage under construction, that is something that could be enforced or controlled through the building code through the municipal chief building official. Perhaps Mr. Evan can speak more to the history of those easements on each side of the lot line in a moment. Staff have reviewed the application. We Minden Hills didn't have any objection. They don't require pre-consultation comments on this one, and we didn't receive any comments. Staff have no objection and recommend approval, subject to the conditions that are in the staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have. Thank you.
It seems unfortunate to me that some of these easements for Bell and Hydro run right through the very center of a lot, making it really challenging to develop a lot. And I can see the applicants or the neighbors' concern. But I guess that, as you say, that can well be handled through the building official at the municipality. Any questions from the committee members on the report? Member McKelvey.
So I just want to clarify, I think they had to move the hydro lines, if I remember, in order to build their cottage where they wanted it to be. Is that correct, Adam?
Through you, Madam Chair, perhaps Mr. Evan can answer that. When I was out on site, the hydro lines are actually, they're in the air and they go over top, but I think the bell line was the issue, and that's why they had to bury it. Because once that second story on that cottage is built, it would have been in the way. But I don't know the building permit technicalities of that situation. Again, maybe Mr. Evan can answer.
And is Mr. Evan present?
Yes, he's being moved forward now.
Can you hear me there?
Yes, we can hear you. Is there some additional information you can provide us, giving clarification on the easements and whether or not the hydro lines have been moved? Or
yes, the hydro lines were buried in, I did a site visit in July, and they'd already been buried across the Patton property. And so they'd taken down the overhead by then. And then Bell came in, I think in August, and buried their cable. And when I was on site, the original grade had been returned after Hydro, their contractor, had left. So there wasn't any drainage issue created by the easements that I saw. I think they're more connected to the construction of the dwelling. Mr. Olson is, as far as I could tell with the title search, misinformed about a easement for surface flow. I could not find anything stating that. And the only easements connected to those properties are from the southerly end of those properties out to the township road for traffic. Now,
Okay,
the concern for him, he's got plans that show a 20-foot strip on either side of the lot line. And maybe somebody told him once that there was an easement, but there doesn't appear to have ever been one created
or registered
through it.
against title.
Through it, yeah, against the title. But I do agree that you don't want to flood him out, so something should be done there through the construction of the dwelling on the Patton property, probably.
Well, and you know, it would occur to me that if the construction of the cottage wasn't in close proximity to where the lines had been buried, that there really might be some drainage. There could, you know, in some instances, be drainage issues that Bell would have to address. And I think maybe in this case, they're off the hook. Thank you for clarifying what was being referred to as drainage easements, because that would create a problem. Do members of the committee have questions for Mr. Evan? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive both applications for consent and to grant provisional approval to application for consent by both parties? Moved by Member Kennedy, seconded by Member McKelvey.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to applications for consent H-04223 Nelson and H-04323 Patton, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-04223 Nelson, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-04323 Patton, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. Member McKelvey.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Donald.
Yes.
And Chair Danielson.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's approved. Thank you, Mr. Evan.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. The next application is by Thatcher for a new shoreline residential lot.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just bring up the report. Okay, application H-04523 is for 1028 Conto Lake Road in Highlands East. And this would be a severance of a large rural property that has shoreline frontage on Devil's Gap Lake. And I will share screen and walk committee briefly through the application. Just have to bring up my staff report on my other screen here. Okay, sorry, the computer's a little bit slow. So the subject property is a large rural acreage. It has frontage on Conto Lake Road, just south of the Burnt or Irondale River. And the property extends southwards to what's known as Devil's Gap Lake, which is a small inland lake. The proposed severed lot is on the right side or the east side of the property. And this vacant lot would have an area of 31 acres, and it would have 575 feet of shoreline frontage. 575 feet of frontage on Conto Lake Road, and it would have 820 feet of shoreline frontage on Devil's Gap Lake. This property next door is Crown, and then this is an unopened road allowance. The retained lot over on the west side contains an existing dwelling and garage, and this property would have an area of 59.8 acres, and it would have 740 feet of frontage on Conto Lake Road, and it would have 820 feet of shoreline frontage on Devil's Gap Lake. This property is very similar to Kellett in that Conto Lake Road going through this property is a forest road. And committee may have noted in the staff report from Highlands East Township that there are a number of conditions that will require the applicant to convey this section of road 66 feet to bring the road onto municipally owned land. And as a result, this corner up here will be created as a natural severance, so to speak, but it is a small property. I was speaking with the Highlands East planning consultant who indicated that this area can get wet in the spring with when the river goes up. So one of the conditions is that this kind of corner piece here is going to be rezoned so that it can't be developed. So we are not creating two lots here for development purposes, just this property here on the east side. Riverstone did an environmental investigation of the property, a site evaluation report. They indicated that there is a large building envelope down at the south end of the property, which is, I believe it's just over 2.5 acres. I did walk back there. I didn't cross any streams or any type of wetland features. The north end of the lake is fairly marshy, but Riverstone has recommended enhanced setbacks to the high water mark. So there are building envelopes that are high and dry and will not have any impact on any of the natural features on the property. No correspondence was received as a result of the application circulation. So staff have reviewed the submitted materials. We don't have any concerns, and we recommend approval, subject to the conditions that are in the Highlands East report and in the county report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have. Thank you.
Just for clarification, you said that there were enhanced setbacks recommended, but I see on the sketch it says 30 meters, and is that not the standard setback?
Madam Chair, 30 meters is that's the typical setback that we see on these environmental reports to any type of water feature. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the Highlands East shoreline setback is. If it's 30 meters, then they've met the municipal requirements. If it's less, then these setbacks will be greater than the municipal requirement.
Questions from the committee? Member Donald.
Adam, the numbers 1, 2, and 3 on the retained lands and numbers 4 and 5 on the severed parcel, what do they represent? Are 1, 2, and 3 buildings?
Yes.
4 and 5 building envelopes?
Through you, Madam Chair. So the numbers 1, 2, and 3 are existing buildings. So 1 is the dwelling, 2 is a shed, and 3 is a shed. And then on the severed lot, 4 is a dwelling envelope and 5 is a garage envelope. And the total area that encapsulates those buildings is about 2.5 acres of land that those structures could be located within.
Okay, thank you.
Member McKelvey.
So the spot that shows with the big X through it is not anything to do with this application. They don't even own that. Is that?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. And the other one was that the natural severance that's going to occur by the conveyance of the road is going to be zoned like open space or something. So
yes, through you, Madam Chair. So that corner piece will be put into a zone that basically, whether it's EP or hazard or open space, it'll be a zone that doesn't allow any change on that parcel. It basically remain as is.
Any other questions for Adam? I believe we have the owner and applicant present if they wish to speak to the committee.
They're being moved forward now.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
is there anything that you would like to add to the information we've heard?
No, Adam has done a great job, and just wanted to say that and hear if you have any questions.
Do members of the committee have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, could I have a mover and a seconder to receive the application and grant provisional approval? Member Donald, Member Kennedy.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-04523 Thatcher, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton grant provisional approval of application for consent H-04523, subject to the conditions of approval as listed in the staff report. Member McKelvey?
Yes.
Member Kennedy?
Yes.
Member Donald?
Yes.
Chair Danielson?
Yes,
Thank you.
so your application has received provisional approval. Thank you for being here.
Have a lovely night.
Thank you.
Okay, the next file is by Aubrey for a new rural residential lot in Minden Hills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Application H-04423 is for property has two addresses. 1029 Wishbone Lane is the address of the dwelling that's down close to the lake. And 1016 Gaynor Road is the location of the guest cabin up at the road. So this application proposes to sever off the guest cabin on Gaynor Road from the residential shoreline residential use at 1029 Wishbone. And I'll share screen and walk committee briefly through the app. Okay, so the subject lands have an irregular shape, but they do have 12.8 meters of frontage here on Mountain where there's a dock. And the back part of the property is where the guest cabin and the detached accessory structures are located. So the proposed severed lot would have an area of 0.45 hectares with 61 meters of frontage on Gaynor Road, which is a year-round road. The retained lands would have 0.64 hectares with 61 meters also on Gaynor, and then that 12.8 meters on Mountain Lake. Staff have reviewed the application. The staff report does go over the history here, and I'm just going to very, very briefly summarize the staff position. So starting with Minden Hills Township, the municipality did not endorse this application on the basis that Mountain Lake is an at-capacity lake trout lake, and the municipal official plan does not permit severance of new lots within 300 meters of these lakes. There's a very specific set of situations where a severance may be permitted, and long story short, this scenario with severing off a new lot with a guest cabin on it did not meet the Minden Hills criteria. County staff have also reviewed the application. Similarly, the application does not conform with the County of Haliburton official plan. The criteria in this case does not match what our plan allows. The application was also circulated to the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks, who manage the environmental policies from the PPS and when it comes to lake trout lakes in Ontario. And the ministry also concurred with the county and municipal position that the severance should not be permitted. Two pieces of correspondence were received from neighbors from Jeanne Anthon and Claire Barber, and both of those letters were objecting to the creation of this lot.
And they
So
live in
staff-
proximity to the property?
Yes, they are neighbors.
Okay.
Okay. So the staff recommendation in this case is to refuse the application for 4 reasons. Number one, it's not consistent with the provincial policy statement. Number 2, it does not conform with the county official plan. Number 3, it does not conform with the township official plan. And number 4, it is not considered to be good planning for those reasons. And I'd be happy to answer any questions committee may have. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the committee? Member Donald.
Yes, I just want to say that I've read extensively in this report and all the reports that have been prepared by the township and the ministry. I concur with the staff recommendations. I think they was well thought out, well presented.
Any other questions from committee members? Just looking for the actual resolution here. I understand that Mr. Aubrey may be present and wish to speak.
Mr. Aubrey is being moved forward. Thank you. Mr. Aubrey is declining being a panelist.
He's declining the invite?
Yes.
So there are no questions or further comments from the committee? Hearing none, I just don't see a resolution here. So I guess I would ask for a move and a seconder to receive the application and to deny approval. Go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I'm just looking at the participant panel here, and it looked like Mr. Aubrey did put his hand up a few times. He might be trying to get in.
Okay.
Our IT team is offering to promote Mr. Aubrey. He is declining to accept the invitation.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, there he is. Good evening, Mr. Aubrey.
Yes. Sorry, I was on mute.
Was there any information that you wish to add to the report that's been given?
Yes, I would actually. So let me allow me please a brief introduction. My wife Wendy and I have been residents for 29 years here and permanent residents or full-time residents for 25. And we continue to devote a lot of time to all the volunteer causes around here, to the children's Food for Kids program, the food bank, Highland Crest. More recently, we volunteered at the mass vaccination clinics. You know, we were deeply rooted in the community. So the reason I mention this is because my wife and I were kind of appalled at the hostile reception we got at Minden Council. And frankly, there was no need for it. You know, I was polite and respectful, and what we got was hostile behavior. It was undeserved, unnecessary, and unprofessional. And I just had to mention that. And that's the reason why in my cover letter, when I submitted the application to the county, I included something in there that was critical of the township's attitude and approach to this issue. We're not bad guys. We're just trying to see if we can get this thing resolved. So having said that, let me tell you that this is a tough fight for us. I know there's all kinds of obstacles in our way, but we're not going to give up. And I told my wife right from the beginning that this thing is going to end up at and be resolved and decided by the Ontario Land Tribunal. And the reason for that, I'll spend the next couple of minutes telling you why. The opposition to this severance is mostly on one theme, and that is the opposition to backlot development. So in that regard, I would like to steer you to the photograph I submitted as part of the package. You'll find that in page 269 of your agenda package. So it shows the western end of that property, and it shows the structure that's on it. And you'll see on that that structure is actually one of the original homesteads in that whole area. And the white picket fence that you see there is set back about 3 meters from Gaynor Road, which Adam correctly pointed out is a municipally maintained and plowed year-round road. You'll see the 911 sign there too, 1016 Gaynor Road. So this is the only public road in that vicinity. The other roads are all private. And so the other thing I would point out is that if there was a family living in that house, the kids would only have to walk 300 feet from the front door to the pickup point of the school bus. And I verified that with the school. So this is not the kind of typical, when you think of back lot, and these are not the characteristics of what you would normally associate with back lot. This is the only public road in the area. And so the folks that were objecting are down by the waterfront, and there are acres of dense forest between this property and where they are. They can't even see this property from where they are. And so I have trouble understanding or believing that having a family living in this house would somehow negatively affect them or their property. That's just the way I feel about it. So the next point is, I fully recognize the history here. The history is that the use of this structure was downgraded to a single room cabin and a bathroom, and the rest was storage area to allow for the construction of the principal dwelling down by the water. And that was because they had to comply with the exclusionary zoning bylaw that only allowed one dwelling. So I get that, and I understand there was a fair bit of acrimony about that back at the time in 2007. But that was then, and this is now. And I believe that this bylaw, this exclusionary zoning bylaw, which was ill-conceived in the first place, is being dismantled right across and others like it are being dismantled in municipalities across the country by the new Ontario Housing Act. But that only applies for the moment to properties that are serviced by municipal sewage systems. But I'll tell you that there's some serious lobbying going on at Queen's Park right now to expand the provisions of the Housing Act so that it includes some properties that are on septics. So all I can say is keep your ear to the ground, stay tuned, because this is evolving quite quickly. Now, final point is, as I look at this structure that's there, and I see that we have such a terrible housing crisis on our hands in this community, it's affecting almost every employer, it's affecting the economy of the area. I find it hard to understand how we could allow what could be a perfectly good 3-bedroom house to remain vacant while this housing crisis is going on. How is that possible? And to me, the thing we should think about is severing this property, allowing a family to move into this house. And that would be the best long-term solution for this property. I would even be willing to consider adding it to the subsidized housing pool, or doing some kind of arrangement with Faye Martin with the Places for People, do something to have a family move in there. The need is so great. So that's all I have to say, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Aubrey. Before I ask the members if they have any questions, I would make a couple of comments. Although we always appreciate, that folks are longtime residents of the county and are involved in all different kinds of activities, it really does not relate to the application itself. A second point I'd like to make is that we do not make decisions based on the suggestion that that you will appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. We have to make decisions based on the information that we've got and the recommendations that we receive. And I don't believe that the decision, now I cannot speak for Minden Hills, but I rather doubt that the development or the request was denied based on it simply being a backlot, but rather on its impact on the lake overall and the proximity to the lake. You know, what I would suggest, if your application is denied, which, you know, is the recommendation before us, that does not preclude you from pursuing a second residence on the same lot without necessarily severing the lot. It would be available for use by someone, and I do understand that there is action being taken by upper levels of government to look at communal services that are water and septic systems, rather than having municipal water and sewer. So that might be another avenue that you could follow if you were willing to let go of the idea of a severance. But at any rate, I will defer to committee members. I see Member McKelvey has her hand up. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, we're going through at Minden Hills some changes to allow for additional dwelling units on a lot, but it will not be allowed on a lakefront lot. Just wanted to get that out there, so he wouldn't really have that option down the road.
Okay. Questions or comments from other members of the committee? Hearing none, I think I put the motion on the floor earlier to receive the application, and based on the recommendations we have received, to deny that application. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Members Kennedy and Donald.
Be it resolved that the Land Division Committee of the County of Haliburton received the report related to application for consent H-04423 Aubrey, and that the Land Division Committee for the County of Haliburton does not approve the application for consent H-04423 Aubrey on the basis that the proposed development is not consistent with section 2.2.1 and 2.2.2 of the 2020 Provincial Policy Statement. The proposed development does not conform with section 5.3.12.7 of the County of Haliburton Official Plan. The proposed development does not conform with the Township of Minden Hills Official Plan. The proposed development does not represent good planning. Member McKelvey.
Yes.
Member Kennedy.
Yes.
Member Donald.
Yes.
Chair Danielson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, Mr. Aubrey, your application has been denied, but as you said, you do have appeal processes that you can follow. I do thank you for being here this evening and trying to give us an update and some information on the history of the property.
Right now, will you be providing a written confirmation of tonight's decision?
I will leave that to Mr. Kozlowski to respond to.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. So we will send out a notice of decision tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other business that needs to be discussed this evening? I don't see anything on the agenda. Hearing none, is everyone available for the next committee meeting on December the 11th? Yes, so that one more meeting in the evening, and then staff will be cheering the fact that we'll be meeting at during the daytime.
Yep. Next month we have one so far, unless one or two come in from the lower tiers, but so far it's just one.
Okay. a fast and furious meeting unless it's a contentious one. Thank you, everyone. Could I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by member Kennedy, seconded by member McKelvey, excuse me.
Be it resolved that the November 13th, 2023 Land Division Committee meeting be hereby adjourned at 7:50.
Favor. Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.